So, hey, what's up, everybody? This is Coach Block back again on the First and Goal podcast. This podcast is not so much about the sports aspect. Of course, I always got to tie sports in, but this podcast is about mental health and what we need and what we have and what we can do to get ourselves from point A to point B. Because during this stressful COVID time, and there's relatives at the table that will no longer be at the table. There's things and stressors that we've had that, we've never had before. And holidays always pull at those strings. And so for me, I know myself, I've been struggling. So if I could be transparent with the audience, I've been struggling myself. I work at a facility at night, and there are COVID patients there. And it's really tough. It's tough to consistently have to be so cautious about every step, every move. It drains you. And until you're in it, you haven't really realized how much it can be. So for me, I know for the holidays, it's a good time. So I just wanted to get a holiday check-in and just talk about some mental health, because mental health matters. So with that being said, I have an inspirational story with a young man that has started his motivational speaking. His name is Daniel Bryant. And I got a clip that I want to show you guys, because we're going to talk about how he used athletics to motivate him when there was a situation that he had gone through where no one thought he would come out the way he did. And he defied odds and spiritually beat something that I'm going to let you guys see it and you guys be the judge. So let me let you guys check out the video that we have here.
A complete surprise and shock and horror.
He witnessed a fiery crash that sent 4 teenagers to the hospital. And tonight he's telling us about the final moments when 2 cars hit head on. We're glad you're with us tonight. I'm Catherine Brown.
And I'm Gerald Owens. That crash closed busy New Bern Avenue for more than 4 hours yesterday. 4 teenagers were injured along with another driver. WRL's Ken Smith spoke with a witness today, and he is back at the scene with that firsthand account. Ken?
Gerald and Catherine, let me show you New Bern Avenue right now at this hour with the help of photographer Laura DeSermo. This accident actually happened right down there by that yellow sign. Now, tonight we talked with an eyewitness who details for us what he saw and how that crash affected him. The crash brought the eastbound lanes of New Bern Avenue near Rogers Lane to a complete stop Tuesday just after noon.
Once I saw that happening, and I was like, okay, God.
Bryson Stevens says he was driving his car just behind the Camry with the caved-in roof. Police say the driver of that Camry lost control, crossed the median, and crashed head-on into another vehicle. Police say 4 teens were in that car.
They were frantic.
Police say the teens and the other drivers suffered injuries. Stevens says he quickly did what he could to help, but for him, it was reliving another trauma in his life.
It was horrifying, and it reminded me of my brother's accident. It was the exact same scenario.
Stevens says he lost his brother in a similar crash. Police say after the Camry collided with the other vehicle, it caught fire. Stevens says another quick-thinking driver came to the rescue just before firefighters arrived.
Somebody else was in some kind of utility truck or something. He comes over with a really large fire extinguisher. And without that, this boy would have absolutely had the same fate as my brother.
So now, with that being said, there was a time when I got a phone call as a football coach during this time that this accident happened. Coach, you got to rush to the hospital. Daniel got hurt. And so myself, along with the other coaches, ran immediately to the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, it didn't look well for this young man, Daniel, at all. Once they finally got the opportunity to clean him up and put him in a room, when we were allowed to see Daniel, he looked like this. So that was Daniel when we finally got a chance to see him. So during this road and during this time, we all came around and we surrounded him. The coaching staff, myself, along with Coach Kennedy, showed up at the hospital. We created a campaign at the hospital, do it for Dirty, because his nickname is Dirty D because he's a defensive lineman. And he told us And his family told us actually it was something that helped his recovery. So while he was in the hospital, his dad would say, Coach Block, if you guys just whisper in his ear, it would help. It motivated him. And it was hard to believe it, but his dad said he would see it. His fingers and things would move when we got to that point in time. So to fast forward, so we can bring him in, Daniel, it didn't look like he would ever be able to play football, but Daniel actually ended up playing football his senior year. This is him as a senior year. So he went from the accident to that's his graduation picture. He actually played as well. So we also got footage of, well, not footage, but a still shot of him in his uniform again. And so he actually finished out his senior year. And now he's getting into speaking with kids and speaking with the youth just about his story and how his story can help motivate them and get them into a different position. Once he started that, he now has a program that he calls Motivated and Empowered, which is now his new brand, which he's starting. And I want to help him get this out and show people exactly his story. And I think he tells it a little bit better than I do. So without any further ado, let me bring on first guest, Daniel Bryant. What's up, Daniel? How you doing, man?
Good. How are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. So do you want me to be professional and call you Daniel the whole time, or if I slip up and call you dirty, don't get mad at me.
I won't be mad at you. We know what that
Okay,
means.
man. So I don't want to dwell a lot on the story of the past of the accident, but if you can, man, just touch on it a little bit so that people get a backstory of why it's so important now about you and what you're doing with Motivated and Empowered.
Well, of course, the accident, I actually look at it as something very important to speak on. Like I said, my mom always told me, when you have the chance and the opportunity to show and tell people your testimony, never give up on that opportunity. I love sharing my testimony. I was in a horrific car accident at one point in time, May 28th, 2019. The car had caught on fire. I was trapped in the car. As I was rushed to the hospital, doctors almost counted me as a fatality. They didn't even know if I was going to be alive. So me staying in the hospital, I was there over 28 days. 17 of those days were in ICU, where I was in critical condition. I was on a ventilator at one point in time. So I know what adversity is. And when it hits your doorstep and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you don't know, will I be able to wake up that next morning? Will I be able to tell my family I love them again? So I know how that is. And so now I take every single step, every single day with such gratitude, because I know what it is when things are taken away from you. I know where you can't wake up and you can't speak on your own, when you can't eat on your own, when you can't do the things that you were doing the day before. A sense of gratitude comes to you and appreciation just for life and purpose. And that's what me is about.
Got you. So let me ask you this then, because that's your why. Now, and it's hard for me, like when you sent me the pictures, it was hard for me not to go back in it myself because it was an emotional time. But what motivated you to keep going? Because as people were telling you, hey, you're not going to be able to play football. Hey, you might not be able to be in the same classes. Hey, you might not even graduate on time. When people were telling you all these different things that you weren't going to be able to do, what motivated you to defy the odds?
Well, to defy those odds, I would have to give the glory to God. Without him, I wouldn't be in a position where I am today. As I seen as my time in the hospital went, my relationship with God grew, and that allowed me the mental strength and the physical strength to be able to defy those odds. So I was there in the hospital when I've seen jokes about the accident, when people joked about me, about scars and everything like that. I've been through that mental part where I was trying to feel accepted and people didn't accept me for who I was or what happened. And I was at that point where the doctor came in my room and told me, Daniel, you're never going to play football again. Something that I had poured my heart into. I had poured 4 years with you, coach, and it was just with a snap of the finger, it was gone. And at the time, I was in a dark place, but I found that strength through God, and he started talking to me, and I started building my relationship with him where, you can do this. he brought me that far where I was on my deathbed. Now he brought me this far where I'm alive and I'm able to walk now. I'm able to talk. I can do these things. So I just started running with that opportunity. And that's when I started looking at every single day and every single opportunity as a blessing. So I don't look at opportunities or things like this. I don't look at it as, oh, this is a chance. It's not a chance. This is a blessing. To be able to be here and speak to you, this is a blessing. So now that's how I look at every single step of my life. And that's how I got to where I was. That's how I got back on the football field. I approached every single day, every single practice when I came on that field. It wasn't just a normal day. This wasn't a normal day. These 110s, this isn't normal. It's a blessing to run a 110 now. Because, us linemen, we don't like running 110s. But
right.
Even the ability to run a 110, to hit that sled, to do those drills that Coach Kennedy had us doing. Before we'll take it for granted. So I can't stand when Coach make us do this. But now I'm like, Coach, let me go first. I'll do it. Because it's a sense of appreciation. It's
Absolutely.
Because it's kind of hard when you haven't felt when something's taken away or when your life is put on pause.
Yes, sir.
Let's put on pause and you can't do the things that you used to do, but now you can. And you see God's power working to you. And you see him come into your situation and pick you up when you couldn't pick yourself up. And when you try to do it on your own, you try to get other people, you try to get doctors, you try to get family, but they couldn't lift your burden. But you get God to pick up your burden and carry you and pull you through. And then he washes you clean and he puts you on a new level. That's amazing to me. And that's my whole story, really.
So I got a question, man, because there's no way I can do this without talking about your mom and your dad. And the reason why is because, while you were in that induced coma, your mom and your dad were the ones that were constantly saying, Coach Block, Coach Kennedy, just whisper in his ear. He can hear you. Or just talk to him. He's right there. Just please, just keep talking to him. So the support system that you had, man, just talk about mom, talk about dad, talk about how things are even now, you know what I mean? Just thankfulness about just family, because during this holiday season, family is always the key.
And that is totally true. Family is the key. Just the support I had from my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister throughout my hospital stay. When I tell you, my mom, literally, the doctors even told me when my mom came in and saw me, and she only got to see me for 20 seconds when I was in the emergency room, when the doctors did at work, she filled me with oil and prayer, and doctors almost had to kick her out. That just showed her love and, compassion that she had for me. And my dad, if anybody knew my dad was trying to stay positive throughout the whole situation.
Yeah.
He's telling me, my son gonna get up out of here. He gonna walk out those doors. He gonna walk out, and this every day. And he put it in my ear. Even when I regained consciousness, he was like, "All right, Daniel. It's third quarter, it's fourth quarter. You got to get up. Let's go. Timeout over. It's time to go." And he was putting that mentality back that I had before, where that football mentality that I was like, okay, all right, it's fourth quarter. It's time to roll. And that's what he told me when I was in the hospital. Like, hey, you don't got no time just to rest and lay back and feel sorry for yourself. It's time to get up. It's time to work. You feel goal that you want. All right, let's work. And that's what he did. He would go to the gym with me. Even on his weekends and the days that he had to go to work and things like that, he would take me to the gym because there was a certain amount of weight that the doctors wanted me to be able to handle before I could go back to play football. So, he would take me to the gym. He was like, all right, you got it. He would record me. He would show me what I need to do. He would be there at the gym with me saying, oh, nah, we ain't leaving till you get this up. We ain't leaving till you get this up.
Yeah.
And, he put that mentality of that I needed for football back in my life. And I really appreciate my mom and dad a lot.
Honestly. And the one thing that a lot of people may not understand is just planting those seeds of faith, because the first thing that Daniel's dad told me as soon as we got to the hospital was, my son's going to walk out of here and he's going to play. And he said it every day. As soon as we showed up, Coach Block, just what's something that you can say to Daniel that just let him know that he's going to play. And in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, all right, Mr. Chris, we're going to go along with this, but it don't look like Daniel going to play ever again. But as a father and as your mother, even when your mom said, I don't know about him playing again, your dad always, you had it in his mind, my son's walking out of this hospital and my son's going to play again. So now let's talk about how we took all that from the accident, from the parents planting seeds, from the growing, from taking the negativity and all that stuff. Now you've created a brand now of your own where now you want to motivate young people. And also, I won't just say young people, but also use your story to motivate adults. And you've created something called Me, Motivated and Empowered. Tell me about it.
Let me tell you a little bit about me. So throughout this all came when I was in the hospital. So when I was in the hospital, I didn't understand why. I had those, those doubtful questions we get when we're going through adversity, like, why me? Why me, Lord? Why is this happening to me? And then I realized, well, everybody thought I wasn't going to make it, and then I made it. So now I'm like, so he kept me here for a reason, but I did not understand why. So I wanted to know why. I want to know, why am I still here, Lord? Why did you protect me through that accident? And so then that's when I was trying to discover what was my me or my purpose. So me was created to inspire others to define and fulfill their purpose through motivation and empowerment. So through my adversity, I needed motivation. I needed that desire. I wanted to play football again. So I was like, okay, that's what I want. That was my end result. That's what my motivation was. But my empowerment was the positioning of myself that I could fulfill my goals. So that was doing everything I could every single day that will align to my desire. So if I want to play football, boom. Okay. I know that's my desire. That's what I want, but I need to make sure I have the works that go align with that desire. So that's when I was going to the gym every day. I was running, I was jogging, just trying to get my legs underneath me. I would go to the practices. Those days that I was still in the hospital. And I don't know if you saw it, like even when I got my phone fixed and I was still in the hospital, I would go on Huddle and I saw,
and still watch film.
Yeah, I was still watching film in the hospital. When I went to NC State and y'all were doing those camps and stuff, I watched the D line and the O line. I was texting some of the other defensive linemen. Hey, you should do this. Hit him with that move. His foot is up. He's not kickbacking fast enough. I was, it was just in me, and I was like, if I can't play, I'm gonna put myself closest to playing. So I would watch film, I would work out, I would do everything possible that will align to my desire, and that's what me and finding my me. That's my hashtag. Find your me. That is finding your purpose. And when other people in society had a so-called purpose for me, or what they thought Daniel was going to be and what Daniel could do and couldn't do, that was what they had for me. That was their reality. But I had to find what my reality was and what my purpose was, and that's me. So finding my me. So that's what me is, and that's what I work now. I speak, I do public speaking, I do other events and things like that. I go talk to other people where I can help them find their purpose or find their me.
Now, with finding their me, and one thing that I want to make sure a lot of people know and understand, just in case they're watching, Daniel wasn't the only one in the car. So there's two other stories that we're going to talk about with this, because for me, like I said, mental health, mental wellness amongst adversity is huge, because we're all experiencing some form of adversity. So there were two other students in the car that we will talk with in the future, next week actually, and they're going to give their account as well. So Daniel, this one incident impacted so many people, and it was a ripple effect that went from those that were in it to family, to friends, to a school, to it was a lot bigger. So I don't want anybody to see this and say, but there was more than just Daniel. There was. We're going to get to that story as well. We're going to get to those stories as well, so people see how this one incident just kind of rippled out to others. So back to me, so that we can get an understanding of me, man. Tell me where it started, because I know you were in a program at Enloe called Swag, where you kind of talked with the youth, and we had you at Hunter Elementary, and you started talking there, and it kind of was birthed there. Tell me what you're going to give to the young people that see you and see this story.
So when I was at Enloe, we had a program called Swag, Students with a Goal. So we would go to our feeder elementary school, and we would come up with different activities and things that we can give the youth, those elementary students, for them to take with them throughout the week. We would come the following week, we'll have a call with them saying, how was your week? What did you remember from last week and things like that? And so I drew a lot of inspiration from that because I wanted to pull something from that and say, hey, how can I affect the youth, but also adults with me? How can I affect people's everyday life? You know, finding your me, that's something that can happen every single day. Finding your purpose and walking in your purpose and doing it with intention and gratitude, that's something that people can take with them every single day. And that's where I drew that from the Hunter elementary program that I did with those students, and the following with the other students I did it with. Doing that really gave me inspiration, saying, okay, I can do this, you know. And Coach Block, you came on some of those trips with us where we had to come up with activities, and you would help me out sometimes. And, you know, it was a very, very fulfilling time for me because I started to get that confidence saying, okay, I can help. I feel myself helping. And that's what I wanted to do. After my accident, you know, I was like, okay, I went through this and I made it through, but I have a testimony that I can share with other people. So that's where me coming from, you know, sharing my testimony throughout everything that I've been through. God placed a me in me, you know, placed a purpose in me. And now I'm walking in my purpose and I'm walking full force with all gratitude and with full on intention to be successful. And that's what I've done.
So let me ask you this, man, because I want to make sure we're going to have another guest in, but I want you to stay with us and join in because I wanted to introduce you to him as well. Like, so me, the principles of me, because everything I'm sure that you're doing is built on principles. Tell me what those principles are and how those apply to situations.
So the principles of me is, you know, wellness as a whole. So, you know, you have your social and you have your emotional, you have your physical, you have your spiritual wellness. You have all those skills that affect your life, right? So we think, oh, we have so many areas in our life that can be affected by things. So, you know, you got your spiritual life. You know, when things pull at you spiritually, that can hurt. When you got your mental side. And it's hard when things pull at it and we're trying to give attention to every single area. So that's what me is trying to do. So me is trying to incorporate a model where we can be able to give attention to all those different areas of our life and give tangible and intangible things for people to take with them to support those things. Because you can't just, you know, forget about one area and put that one off to the side and, you know, focus on one area. So, you know, a lot of people forget about their mental health. So like during these COVID times where it looks scary, and there's so much fear that's been poured into us, you know, by the media and everything. There's so much fear that's been poured in to the point where we are really scared and we don't know what our fate will be. We don't know how bad or worse this virus will get. And so training your mental and your spiritual and your physical and your emotional wellness is very important in these times. Dedicating time, dedicating people to help pour into those areas in your life are very, very important. So I urge everyone watching, you know, take some time these holidays and this month just, you know, to talk with other people, you know, have open dialogue about those different areas of your life so you can, you know, so you can spend time and you can give those areas of your life attention. Because like I said, everything needs attention.
So then now with you saying something that I want to touch on again, not even again, but it's something that First and Goal is based on, which is working the mental as much as the physical, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure during the time of recovery for yourself after the accident, there was times of setback. Everything is good while you're going good, right? Everything is great while everything is moving forward. So while you're working the mental, was there physical setbacks that then touched the mental? And was there mental setbacks that touched the physical? And how did you use that to fight through?
I had to give attention to both those areas, especially when I was in the hospital. So as I was in ICU, physical and mental were down. And I was in a dark place. And I would try to hide out, try to mask it. You know, I didn't want the doctors to see that side. You know, I didn't want my family to see that side. I wanted everybody to know I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna get back to playing football. I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine. And I wasn't inside. So once I got to my rehab center, I remember it like it's yesterday. And I'm thinking everything's going good because I'm in rehab. I'm out of ICU. I'm in rehab. Okay, worst days are behind me. I'm about to get back to field. I'm gonna get the scholarship. I'm gonna get these sacks. I'm gonna do it.
Right.
But then I remember my doctor walks in. He tells me, "You're never gonna play football again." And I'm like, "What?" And I remember having this face at me. And I turned around because I didn't want to look at her right. I did not want to look at her right now because I didn't know what I was going to say or what I was going to do. So I just turned around. And I was like, what? All the work that I poured in, I'm not going to play football. And that tore me down mentally and physically. And that's when my dad kept on putting those things in my ear. No, you going to play football. We going to play. You going to play. You know, he kept on putting that. Oh, it's fourth quarter. It's fourth quarter. You got to get up. No more timeouts left. Hey, you got to go. You got to go. And that's when I started having that mental and physical strength where I was able to, physically, I was starting to go to the gym and I was able to start pushing the weight because mentally I had started having those seeds poured into me. I started having those seeds that, no, you can do this. You're going to overcome. God didn't bring you this far. You will overcome. He will give you the power to tread over your serpents. And that's what started coming. And once I start having that spiritual side strength, then that's when spiritual side, that covered me mentally and physically. And that's when things uplifted each other. And once I got my mental side straight, my physical side followed. And like I said, physically, it's kind of like when you have mental strength, it's like your mental strength just overtakes everything and like your physical just follows it, You can't even feel what you're doing, Nothing hurts, nothing, you don't even feel the strength that you have physically. It's just your mentality, your will overpowers everything, and the will give you that motivation, that desire that says, no, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to let this set me back. I'm going to keep on pushing. I'm going to keep on pushing. It's going to take, the devil, you're going to need more than that. The devil, that's not enough. You're going to have to keep on pushing because I'm going to keep on pushing. And I got it on my side. And that's what started to happen for me. And once I started getting my spiritual side straight and my mental side straight, and like I said, those all took attention. You have to give those sides attention. And sometimes we bypass those because it's not the most important. Oh, physically I hurt, so I'm gonna just bypass my mental and spiritual side. I needed attention to all those areas.
So now you touched on something where a lot of people may not know it about old coach, and I know sometimes y'all as players didn't really think it, but I'm a very, very spiritual person, like very spiritual person. So I didn't touch on that because I wanted to see if you kind of went down that street, and you did. So what you told me was your workouts helped your mental from workouts helped your physical because it kept you moving, but the driving force was your spirit to say, I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, that's totally correct. That's totally correct.
So then now let me ask you this, man, because we've dealt with players, you've dealt with, teammates and all that stuff. How do you take this message and kind of make it relevant for peers? Because like you said, a lot of people would say, that's just Daniel's situation. So now getting into motivating others, how do you want to impact this, and how do you push this spiritual side? Because sometimes people kind of reject it. So how do you want to inject the spiritual side of just mental health, physical health, and just overall wellness, health and wellness?
Well, see, that's why it's so important for me to share my testimony. So when I show those pictures of when I was in the hospital, when I show those pictures of my car accident, and people might be wondering, why do you have a smile on your face? It's because I'm blessed. And I know how, some people, you have the extreme example. You have the extreme situation. I'm just trying to pay a bill this week and I can't get it done. Something like that. I know how it is when your back's against the wall. And that doesn't change. When adversity hits, people have to have something to go to. One Sunday I preached on the 4 P's. What's your advantage in adversity? So people were wondering, well, when adversity hits my front door and I don't know where to go, what do I do? And I came up with peace, press, patience. And that was very important. Prayer, peace, press, and patience. Those four P's were very important with me fighting through my adversity, because I was able to go through something. So when you're going through something, you feel like there's no tunnel. Where do you go? So I had to look, okay, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to take my wellness. I have mental troubles right now. I have physical troubles right now. I can't take them to the doctor. I can't take them to my family. Where do I go? That was when I talked to God. My communication with God, that was prayer. Then when I was asking for peace, because mentally it was such a burden, realizing I might not play football again. I might not be able to go to school with my friends again normally. I had to ask for peace to ease my mind, because my mind was going crazy. You know, I'm a 17-year-old boy trying to be in high school. All we look for is appreciation and, you know, and it's an acceptance from our peers, right? We're in high school, we need to be accepted. And
validation
where that's compromised.
Yeah.
And
keep going, man. You actually preaching right now, Pastor Bryant.
So press, and then when I went into press, that's my driving force. That's my motivation. So when people didn't understand, well, how is Daniel playing football? How does he come to school with a smile on his face every day? How can things he was doing them better than he was before? And it was that peace, and that was that press. That was that perseverance that God gave me. You know, that was that perseverance that said, "No, I'm not going to give up. I came this far. I'd be danged if I came all the way this far. I'm not going to give up now. I'm gonna keep on pressing. I'm gonna keep on pressing. I'm on God's side. But when God tells me to stop, then I'll stop. But when man tells me I can't do none, I know I can do it. When they tell me I was going to play football again, I know I can do it. When he tells me, "Oh, you're not going to be able to eat. You can't talk, you can't walk." When they pronounce me a fatality on scene, I had those things going on in my life where people didn't think I was going to be alive. When I got my phone back, text message that I get, "Oh, you're dead. Oh, you passed away. I'm sorry for your loss." All that stuff. Surprised, like, wow, he's alive now. He's walking. He's talking to people now. He's doing motivation speaking. It's because it's my testimony. So when people ask me, how does this relate to my story? It's because I can feel your pain when you know your back's against the wall and you don't have nothing to go to. And when you don't have nothing to go through, it's a scary time. When you have nothing I can't call on nothing. I can't pull nothing. I don't have anything I can feel or touch, or I don't have no communication. And that's why I came up with the 4 P's: prayer, peace, press, and patience. And those are my 4 P's to fighting adversity. So
on First and Goal, man, one thing is I try to make it as organic as possible. I see you starting to loosen up now because you didn't drop the 4 P's. You never even told me about the 4 P's. Now you preaching, and I appreciate it. So with that being said, man, let's talk about this in your next step. So with me, we're going to talk about the youth. That's definitely something that you wanted to focus on, but you also want to get into making this an overall program where you're dealing with not just youth, but adults. Who's inspiring you now? Because we all got to have some type of mentor. Coach Kennedy and I were talking before. Who's the coach's coach? I have mentors myself. I have spiritual mentors myself. Who are you looking at now in your lane that you aspire to be, and hopefully you pass?
Well, coming up with this business, me, and wanting to be a motivational speaker, but doing anything is always good to be looking at, okay, who's doing this now? Who's been successful with it? Okay, what little bits and pieces can I take from them and learn from them? That's the same thing I did with football. Coach Block, my favorite player is Aaron Donald. What I do, I watch Aaron Donald highlights and tape all the time because that's my favorite player. And I wanted to be the best football player I could be in my position. So for motivational speaking, I looked at Inky Johnson, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, plenty of other motivational speakers and how they word it. And especially Inky Johnson, because when you hear his story, I got a lot of inspiration from it because he was in the hospital at one point from an injury. He was in the hospital and was told he wasn't able to do something again. And he had to fight those odds. And he had to live with that, had to go through and live with that being in the hospital. And a lot of people don't understand when you're in that hospital and you're in those 4 walls and you got all those things, IV things hooked up to your body, and it's a very stressful time, and it tolls on you. It tolls on your body, not just physically, but mentally also. So when I heard his story, it touched me so much because I was like, I can relate to you because I was there at one point in time. I know how it feels when football was put on pause, when football was taken away from me. I know how that feels. And so
for the people that don't know Daniel, let them know a little bit about Inky. Inky was a a football player for the University of Tennessee, and he was projected to go pretty high in the NFL draft. And Inky went to go make a tackle, and next thing you know, he was not able to feel his right side, I think it is, and his right arm, and he lost feeling in that. And now he's a motivational speaker, telling about how he had to overcome those adversities because Inky actually came from an abusive past. Am I correct? Like, tell me why Inky's your guy. I just wanted to let the people that don't know him know who Inky is.
And if you look at his past on where he came from and what was his driving force, although our driving force to playing football was a little bit different, his driving force came from, not having, the living conditions that he wanted his family to be in, and having to live in the house he was living in, and his family struggling, things like that. He wanted to bring his family out. Him making it in the NFL, that was his, driving force. My desire was a little bit different. Me playing football was a way, okay, I can get out. I can do something big with my life. I have a skill, and this is what I'm gonna walk in. That was my desire, and that was my motivation. So once this adversity hit, it is amped up my motivation. Sometimes we look at adversity as, it's bad. Why this got to happen to me? But sometimes we need it. We need that to amp up our motivation. I needed that to amp up, my desire. This is what I want to do, right? So God put that test in front of me. I had a test in front of me. Okay, so I'm not gonna let this stop me. If this is my desire, I'm not gonna let this thing stop me and hold me back. I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna walk through it. I'm not gonna let it pull me back. I'm not gonna let this take me down. I'm not gonna let this hinder the rest of my future. This is just a trial. This is just a tribulation for a moment. But then I'll overcome it. I am going to overcome it. And that's what I started to speak. And once I say I will do, I can, I'm capable of things like that. Once I started saying those things, that's what started, to give me that strength. And I got a lot of that stuff from Inky Johnson and his story.
So now tell me, man, so let's get into where you're just at now as a student. So you're an Aggie, and for those that don't know, that's North Carolina A&T. So you graduated, and so we got Aggie Pride. Yeah. Tell me what your plans are. So you got me, but tell me also what your professional plans are.
So at North Carolina A&T State University, I'm a major in business management with a concentration in entrepreneurship and innovation. So with that, I want to build this ME program into a corporation. So I'm planning on taking this to the school. So as I was there my freshman year, all over here students talk about was their mental health, with everything going around online classes and the COVID and things like that. I recognized that a lot of students were having, wellness problems with their mental health. And I want to bring me to the university. I want to be able to, I can speak to these kids. I can help these students out. We can make a partnership within the university where it's a togetherness where, I can lean on this student. He can lean on me. We can help each other out. We can give attention to each other's areas of life. And sometimes we have to do that. Sometimes when our mental health and our physical and spiritual and emotional wellness are all down and drained and we feel like we have no power, sometimes it's okay for you to ask a friend, can you help me pay attention to these areas of my life? And that's what I'm trying to do at A&T, where I can make a togetherness feel where I can have students be able to give attention to those areas that I talked about and give areas to those students so their wellness will be on point.
So tell me how, because I've seen in the comments that there are people who want to sow seeds to you and people who want to, reach out. Tell me about the how can I get to you? Or if I want me to come speak at the church or with the youth or anything, what's the best way to get in contact with you? Uh-oh, I'm losing sound with you, Daniel. Can't hear you. It's a little low. Try talking to me now.
You can get in any contact with me through all my social medias. My Twitter, D Bryant.
We lost you again. Hold on, we
Can you
lost
hear-
you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, got you. Okay. Yep, go ahead, start talking. Hey, man, what you got going on over there, Dan? You got Boost Mobile, baby? We can't hear you no more.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Go ahead, let's see.
You
Go
hear
ahead,
me
try
now?
it out.
Okay, we good? Okay, you can reach me at any of my social medias. Me _ motivated and empowered. That's me _ lost.
Go ahead. Me _ empowered. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna make sure this work, my man. What you get? Hold on. I'm still with
Okay.
you. We're gonna make sure.
So you can reach me at any of my, you can reach me at any of my social media platforms. That's
okay.
Me _
Hey man, what is actually hilarious is, Daniel, every time you get
can't
ready
hear me
to say
again?
every time you get ready to say it starts to mess up. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put it in the comment section, and it's
Okay, hold on.
It's me _
that you can reach me
empowered.
Any of my social media is on at me _ motivated and empowered. That's my Twitter, and my social, and my Instagram is at me _ motivated and empowered.
Hey man, tonight was
You
to
can hit me
me,
with a
Daniel,
DM or
email. Go ahead, DM, all that stuff. So
motivated
to me, Daniel,
and empowered. Yeah.
This was
me _ motivated and empowered.
Got you. We're gonna put it inside the comment section to make sure everybody can get to you. But to me, this actually, I wanted to keep it on you and not focus on how I feel about seeing you at this point, because it's actually very emotional.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Man, what you got over there, man? Y'all, you got dial up, man. I keep losing you, man. You got, but here's the thing, man. People got you. They got your support. There it is. People got your support and got your all your information up, and we'll make sure that we share it in the comment section so that anybody who wants to reach out to you, anybody who wants to sow a seed to what you do,
empowered,
motivated and empowered, or motivated empowered.
Okay.
Got you. I'll make sure it's in here. It's gonna be in there.
You got it in the comments.
We're gonna make sure it's in the comment section and it's right. I promise you. I promise you. Because I don't know what you got going on, Daniel, over there with your connection, man. It's all right. I don't want to have a whole bunch of dead air. But no, this was good, and I think it touched a lot of people at the right time, man. As far as just being able to push ahead, push forward, find their me, which is great. Was find your me. You left us with some gems. Just to recap: with pray, peace, press,
you hear me?
Patience. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. And also letting a lot of people know that while they may be working on their physical and working on their mental, it is important that we work on our spiritual as well, because the spirit is actually the captain of the ship. And there's so many gems that we have from this one podcast here. I can't wait to replay this and be able to share it. And I want to thank you for taking the time to come out and speak and share your story, because I know it's not necessarily an easy story to share. So once again, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Tell mom and dad I love them from the bottom of my heart. And I'll make sure all your social media stuff is up here so that we can.
Yeah, you going in and out too.
Oh, am I? That's you, man. That's
you going in and out. Oh,
am
you going in and out on me?
That's you. Hold on one second. Well, I don't want you to go anywhere though, because we do have a guest that just popped in, man. This guy I wanted to link you in with. Huh?
They're not trying to see you.
So look, Daniel, do me a favor. Log out and log back in so that we can get you back on track. All right? Log out and log back in. Okay? My next guest that I got coming back in, he was working with this. He's backed by popular demand because he's basically taking everything that Daniel has talked about. He's going it to the max, and now he's preaching, teaching the whole 9 yards. He's an inspirational story of himself. He was on a previous podcast where we were talking about social, emotional, and mental health. And now here he comes again, and he's just going to drop nuggets. And I'm gonna just let him flow. I'm getting mine out now because once he starts, y'all don't want to talk to me no more because it's just about him. So I got Mr. Darnell Jenkins to come back in on the show. How you doing, sir?
Mr. Block, I'm doing good, man. It's good to be back on the show, man. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to educate and inspire people.
Hey, man, no problem. We had a young man that just spoke, and he was lighting it up as far as just giving knowledge on the spiritual side. That I think he touched on something, and spirit came into him as he got more comfortable with the camera. And this was the guy when I was trying to call you. We kept hitting and missing each other.
Right.
I want to link you with this young man because he has a great story, and now he wants to get into speaking, and you do that so well. So I'm just going to kind of let you go because the topic that we've been talking about today is emotional health through these COVID times with the holidays and all that stuff, man, and just giving people nuggets to keep pressing from this horrible 2020 and to find our focus and future in 2021 because we're rounding this year up. But this year has been like being in a round with Mike Tyson when he was at his prime, baby. So,
right.
Just what you got, man. Tell us what you got going on and just, give us some of that information.
Well, Ken, first and foremost, I want to, say, thank you for having me on. I want to thank every parent that is supporting your show. You put things together like this so people can hear the information, they can process it, they can digest it. For the very word that we speak is seed. You know what I'm saying? And people are gardens. So I sometimes ask people a lot of times, what is the value of dirt? Because we love flowers and we love to get fruit and we love to get trees, but we sometimes miss the significance of dirt or the very dirt that we put our seed into. So I try to make sure that in the midst of going through all the things that I've gone through, all the things that we faced in 2020, I think when we really look at, what COVID has presented, is to create new normals for us. We got to find new ways to get things accomplished. We got to find new ways to make sure that we are, crossing, our T's and dotting our I's. And it's time to really, be scared, but a time to kind of press in. I kind of, preface it to, I didn't really know all the things I can do in terms of teaching and parenting until I had to become a teacher and a parent and everything else through COVID. So I say, thank you, God, for he says in 1 James, consider pure joy the various trials of life, for when your faith is tested, it produces patience. And once your patience is made whole and complete, you'll be lacking nothing. But right now we have to, work on a different type of patience. We have to deal with a different, mindset going into everything that's going on. I believe that the more things that I hear is sometimes based in fear. And as we talked about in 2 Timothy 1:7, God did not give us a spirit of fear. You going into games and you didn't know the outcome, you didn't know how things were going to happen, but you had to believe in the game plan you had going into, and you had to believe that despite whatever you was going through, you wasn't going to be fearful, but you was going to have the spirit. God gave us the spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. So in the sound mind in this season, I got to believe that people need to press into Romans 12:2, where God talks about can be not conformed by the ways of the world, but transformed by the renewal of your mind. So how do we renew our mind? We have to get facts, right? We deal with, COVID, 10 million cases, 200,000 deaths. You got the flu. Every year, people get over 641,000 cases, of 641,000 deaths. And there's a vaccination for it. So it really is, what are we putting our fear to? And what's the real story? You hear people are confused. They're shutting things down. People are not going back to work. So I said in this season, instead of trying to trust in myself, I just ask God and really, find a way to kind of, build my family. What can we do differently than we didn't do before? How can we train differently than we didn't train before? Making sure we, touch base with schools in this season. And, God's put me in position with some military, groups and some, tech groups to really be able to help kind of, circumvent and attack this kind of, COVID issue that we're having, where once again, I think some of it is more there's physically things going on with COVID. But I ask my sons this: if a person has no signs of COVID, but they are positive, but then they end up getting the flu and they pass away, what are people going to say they died of? You know what I mean? And I think we sometimes have diminished the value of the flu because COVID is so new, right? I got to believe that, sometimes we got to be willing to, stand firm in the gap, and our bodies naturally adapt to things. But we have to be willing to be, proactive. We have to be willing to get the right information. And so that, events like football and basketball, things won't be, kind of, just forgotten about because we're fearful of interacting with one another.
So I got a question, man, because my pastor, Pastor Curtis of Mount Eric Baptist Church, I always tend to go in. I can't go back into the church physically and feel that. So I turned my living room into church, and he was talking about spiritually, we need to have something that we meditate on daily, because right now our minds is the playing ground for what you were speaking of fear. And so he said we need to have a verse or something that we always constantly come to. So I worked on one, and I got one where I wanted to hit it with you, and I want to hit it publicly to see, just even if you're in the comment section and you want to, this is full open conversation. And it's Proverbs 14, verse 30, and it's a heart at peace gives life to the body.
Right.
And I think in this chaotic time, we have to find that peace both physically and mentally.
Right.
And and spiritually as well, because, if we think of the heart as a spiritual part, that's what gives us everything. That's our blessings. That's our seed. And as physically, without the heart, we have nothing cracking, nothing moving.
Absolutely.
So if we're not at peace, what do we do? How do we achieve this peace during this crazy time, man? I know myself, I'm fighting for it, to just acquire a level of peace, understanding to where when I wake up in the morning, I'm just not ready to just throw the mattress over. So,
here's my thing. What I say is this: look at Philippians, look at Ephesians. If anybody want to deal with the level of peace, and that's what I've been reading on. We got a Bible study tonight. I'm going to be going over Philippians. For Paul was in Macedonia on Philippi when he had to go there, and he said, whether I live or I die, either I die, I'm going to go see Jesus. If I live, I'm going to keep preaching the word. And what that means is the fact that in Philippians 4, 6, and 7 it says, can be anxious for nothing, but in all things through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, submit your requests to God, and let the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, guard your heart and your mind through Christ Jesus. So what it's saying is that sometimes I may see some things that I don't understand, but because my focus is on a person who's given me salvation, who's given me grace, then I understand that regardless of what goes on, I'm going to be okay. Once again, if God be for us, who truly can be against us? If you look at, so many different scriptures, that we have that's going to reiterate, I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. We have to not only say these words, but we have to see it in our mind, understand the people and the ancestors and the people that God has chosen to be able to speak these things into fruition, for them to give their testimony during the test, to talk about their mess, to give a great message, to talk about their misery and it end up becoming their misery. If you look at Paul, he had no reason to be happy, but once again, he found God's peace, which is the salvation that we have regardless of what things goes on. So we can't look at our situations, Ken, in terms of, well, this ain't going right, that ain't going right. We got to start saying, if I'm speaking these things into fruition, I have to be willing to wait patiently on God and be able to know that things are going to work out for the better. And I think this is something that I go into positive mindset, positive thinking. You bring up some really good points in terms of I have to make sure I'm focused. But it says the build off of what the scripture you just gave is Matthew 6:22. It says the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when that eye becomes single, the body shall be full of light. Right now, there's no deliverance really going on for people. I could watch service online all day long and get a good word and feel good. But what happens in the midst of the storm? Look at football teams. Okay, you got a guy who's in the classroom, a tight end, a quarterback. He's checking everything off and everything's fine. But what determines his circumstances in the midst of a storm? See, when I'm emotionally feeling good, I can say some things and say, okay, I want to go up, I want to wake up, I want to work out, I want to eat right. But when the rubber meets the road, when you're dealt with those physical situations, when the football player goes into the football field, when a person's sitting with an extra piece of cake in front of them, when somebody's sitting there looking at that, hitting that alarm clock saying, I don't want to get up at 5:30, we have to allow our emotion base not to dictate our spiritual base, because we're physical beings trying to get to a spiritual form. And we have to sometimes, that maturity level is what we're talking about in terms of the Bible, in terms of saying Hebrews 12:11, discipline, though it's tough at its training, produces a harvest of righteousness and peace by those who've been trained by it. So we have to learn how to be disciplined in the midst of adversity, in the midst of storms, in the midst of trials and tribulations, in the midst of our own fears, so that we can be able to press into what God's word is and not our own. When God speaks in Psalms 46:10, saying, be still and know that I am God, I'll be exalted in all the nation and all the earth. Sometimes it's not so much what more can we do, what vaccine can we create, what things can we do to change, but sometimes can we be still and allow God to move in his own season? When you plant a seed into the ground, once again, the value of dirt, if that dirt is contaminated, it's going to have contaminated fruit, contaminated trees, but that soil is sound. It doesn't matter how long. If there's a process time, whether it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, that fruit will grow and it'll be great fruit. So sometimes we got to be willing to sit and wait on God patiently and still be consistent, still make sure that we're showing people with our light, like you said, how positive we can be in the midst of a storm. I'm around a ton of people, Ken, and they say, man, how are you so positive during this time? Because God it's a relationship. It's not just religion. It's not just about listening to, a sermon here. It's not about going to Bible study. It's not about, serving on Sunday, but it really is my relationship with God. I'm praying probably 5 to 6 times a day, just to make sure he understands that I'm thankful for every situation, good, bad, or indifferent, that I'm able to face and push through because of the love and the love that he shows me and the grace that he gives me.
Awesome. Now let me ask you this, man, because I know my producer hit me with the 5 minutes, but we might go just a little longer to let it, and my producer,
Right.
My sister, thank you, Pooh, for helping me out. She's handling the cameras and all that stuff. But one thing you hit on was the seed, man, and with us going into a new year, everybody likes to start with the New Year's resolutions and all that stuff, and people tend to look for exterior things. So can you drop some information on that seed and making sure that everybody understands that, a seed has everything it needs to grow inside versus looking at exterior, social media, looking at somebody else's weight loss journeys and goals for a new year, because we're coming up on a new year. So everybody has all these new bags of seeds, and they purchased outside of themselves. And you just drop it about your seed being in you.
Right. If we had a table full of seeds, we wouldn't know what one was strawberry, which one was, watermelon, which one was, anything. We wouldn't know what that seed was until it matured, and what I tell people is that epigenetics is inside of each and every one of us, what you genetically are. The spirit that, resides within you, you really manifest that thing and you determine it. So one thing I would say is realistic goal setting, RGS. Realistically set goals that you can achieve so that you can start winning the small battles. Then I would say KYR, know your role. Know your role in terms of what you want to get done with the midst of your day so that you can then dominate it. Dominate one day at a time. When someone runs a marathon, they don't run 27, 30 miles. They don't think about that mile 30. They got to think about that first step. And sometimes we're so busy looking at long-term that we miss the value of short-term. I would encourage everybody to read Luke chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. This is Jesus teaching on the water. And what Jesus was able to do when he jumped in Peter's boat, I got to imagine that when he was thinking about the disciples, he said, how am I going to pick these guys? No, God. And then Peter was there. Okay, he jumped in Peter's boat and said, now haul off short so I can preach to the people, right? In verse 5 and 3. In verse 5 and 4, he said, now haul off into the deep and cast your nets to the side. Now, Peter said, hey, I just was out there all night. How am I going to go back out there? But, because you said I'll do it. How many of us almost missed a blessing because we were hurt in that same way, right? We go through New Year's resolutions, some things that we let go the year before, the year before that, the year before that. But at some point, Peter was, man, which means he was a professional of what he was doing, but he had to listen to.
Scroll up again. Your sound would
understand. Jesus had him start small and then go into the deep. He didn't say go into the deep and then come back to the small. So sometimes we can't allow our emotional responses to dictate our spiritual blessings, right? And if Peter had allowed his emotional response, which means I was out there all night long, why am I going to go back over there? It obviously is not working out. He said, you know what? It's not about me. I'm going to go back out here. And they caught a great haul, which sometimes understand in the midst of drought, in the midst of things not going right, in the midst of COVID, in the midst of sitting in the house, in the midst of losing your job, in the midst of teaching kids online, in the midst of not getting recruited, in the midst of your season being canceled, are you willing to keep putting in the work even when you don't see the blessing? Can you believe when you're not seeing? Can you be that 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith, not by sight? This is what Peter had to do, because he could have even said, man, I was out there all night. I'm going back out there. I'm tired. I'm sore, not getting this. Don't even know if it's going to be profitable. But once again, he did it. Now, one of the biggest things that they've done in this season, we may say this is a bad idea. How could they do this? How could you turn away from your job, turn away from training? And here in Luke 5:11, for the disciples, they left their boats and they left their things and they followed Jesus. This was how they made money. This was their livelihood, and they left it because of what they believed. How many of us in this season not only would believe Jesus if he was somebody living underneath a bridge, would then say, I'll follow you just from what you say so I can see the wonderful works in what you do. We need to understand being a Christian and being strong is not about things always going our way, but the test really brings up strength inside of us, right? The butterfly don't start flying until it goes through a cocooning process. Before that, it's an egg, then it's a larvae, which we call the caterpillar phase. It's the pupa, which is then the cocoon, and then it goes into maturity. Sometimes we got to go through uncomfortable, tight situations to be able to fly higher than we ever have before. And it takes us having faith by what we do, not by what we say. For my children learn by what they see me do, not by what they hear me say. And this is a season where we can start doing more with our actions and less with our words, man. So thank you.
So then before we get you out of here, the last thing I'm going to get you on, because the other big piece about New Year's resolutions and moving forward is letting go, because there is a lot in 2020. You can't hear me? Uh-oh. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? No?
I can't hear.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
I can't hear you. I can't hear me.
Hold on. All right.
This is crazy.
Until we get this,
I'm gonna log off.
Can you hear me?
Log back on, or just I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. Okay. Thank you so much.
That's okay.
Look,
that's all right.
If you, I just thank you for having me on. I pray for everybody who's out there. I pray that God continues to keep covering us. Ken, you better text me. Let me know what the responses were like. If anybody got any questions, we got some things coming up. Pittsburgh Public Schools canceled their winter season, so we got some things going on with a couple artists to try to get kids inspired again. If they want to follow me, I'm Dinkins Ethic on Facebook and Darnell_Dinkins on Twitter, or they can shoot you a line to get to me if they just need some encouragement or some positive reinforcement. God bless you all. I pray that God covers all of you and your families. Be safe, and God bless. Go talk to you guys later.
Thank you. So now, with that being said, man, I'm just going to go ahead and close. And I was going to talk about, or have Darnell talk about, letting go. And maybe that's just how I close. And maybe it's meant for me to do it that way. Like I said, I'm a spiritual person, not quite as deep as Darnell yet. Can't rattle off verses and all that, man. I know we're at a point in time right now where there's a lot of 2020 weight spiritually that we got to let go. And we can't carry this over into a new year. Let alone we can't even carry it over into a new day. And I know we're feeling a lot of pressures. I told my fiance, I have never been so blessed, but so broken at the same time, because I got so much to look for. But 2020 has weighed on me so hard. It's just like I'm in shambles, right? So with that being said, though, with being blessed and broken at the same time, the beauty about being broken is I can decide what pieces I want to pick back up and what pieces that I want to proceed with, because maybe being broken took some of the things off me that I did not have. The thing that I want to make sure that I'm doing is I'm here for my family, for my friends, for the kids that I coach, as you guys can see. And so to be that heartbeat that I talked about before, that should be our goal. So I leave y'all with, let's work on being the heartbeat so that we can push our blood and our blessings to other things, to our other extremities, other people that you know may need you, or things that you might not know. Like, for example, what's the pinky finger in your life where, our pinky finger, we don't pay attention to it until we need it. And there may be something that feeds off of you until, you don't even realize it until a situation comes up. So let's continue to be the heartbeat in every situation that we can. I'm going to keep using this podcast to keep elevating situations like this, where we can just all sit down, fellowship, and feed off of, using sports as a catalyst really to change lives, man. That's all this is about. Because at the end of the day, sports ends for everybody. So at the end of the day, what do we have once it's left over? So I thank everybody who joined in and heard two powerful people, Daniel Bryant and also Darnell Dinkins. Sorry for the technical difficulties on I don't know if it was me or them. We'll make sure we clean that up. And next week, we're going to be taking it from a female side. So on the female side, we're going to talk about some lady athletes. We're going to have some lady athletes talking about their trials, tribulations, their strengths, their weakness, and what they bring to the table, because this has been a heavy male-dominated show, and I don't want that to be. So next week, we'll be bringing in some ladies. And as always, my catchphrase is, let's focus on what you got to do. As Daniel said, focus on your me. Don't compare, compete, and let's get it, and let's dominate the next day. All right. Have a good one.